Hello viewers, we are going to consider standard integrals and their interpretation. And so if you have integral of x raised to power n dx, this is how it is interpreted. For instance, if you have 3 x raised to power 3, you're asked to integrate this. So the easiest way to the interpretation is that you are going to have 3x raised to power 2 plus 1 divided by 2 plus 1. This is what plus the constant of integration. So if you have if you're asked to integrate 1 over x dx, it's simply like x plus c. These are standard integrals. If you're asked to integrate exponent x dx, the standard interpretation is exponent x plus c. So if you're asked to integrate exponent kx dx, this k is a constant. K is a constant, and it means you are going to be having exponent kx over k plus c. Let me show you an example of this. For instance, if you're asked to integrate, this integral of exponent 7x, for instance, we are asked to integrate it by this interpretation. It means your integration will be exponent 7x all over 7 plus c. So that is what this log means. And then you have integral of a raised to power x dx. If you are to, this is a differentiation of a log function. So you have ax all over ln a plus c. And then if you're asked to integrate sine x dx, this is the interpretation. If you're asked to integrate cos x dx, this is the interpretation. If you are asked to integrate sine and sec square x dx, this is the interpretation. The same thing applies to this, the same thing applies to this. Now when you are solving a problem, and you have 1 over square root of 1 minus x squared dx, the interpretation will be sine inverse of x plus c. For instance, if you're solving this problem and you have something like this, maybe you solve a problem and you get to a point where you have integral of 1 over square root of 1 minus, maybe let's say u square. Of course, if this is u square, here will be du. So you just interpret it as sine inverse of u plus c. So whenever you have something of this nature, that's how to interpret it. If it is u here, it means it will be du here. It means it will be sine inverse of u plus c. So the same thing applies to this when you solve a problem and then you get to this point where you have minus 1 divided by square root of 1 minus x squared. This is how you interpret it. So if you have 1 minus, maybe you have a situation whereby it is, maybe you have minus 1 here, you have minus 1 here, and then so this is how to interpret it. This will give you cos inverse of x plus c. So these are standard, integration. And so you have this, you solve a problem, you get to a point where you have 1 over 1 plus x squared dx. This is the interpretation. So this is how, if you get to this point, this will be the interpretation for this. The same thing applies to this, the same thing applies to this, and the same thing applies to this. So what I'm saying in essence is these are standard integration and their interpretation, so that when you are solving any problem on integration, when you arrive at this point, you can just know, okay, this is the standard integral. Thank you.